stories this evening, sponsored by Courts Bringing Value Home. Paul Slowe freed after court dismisses sexual assault charge. Prosecution failed to prove its case. Energy expansion must balance growth and environmental protection. Prime Minister. Alleged $2 million justice-fixing scheme uncovered. Connectivity no longer a privilege. One Communications Guyana to invest $25 million to improve service delivery. And in sport, Nigel London, newly elected president of the Guyana Cycling Federation. HGP Nightly News begins now. Good evening to our viewers here in Guyana and online. I'm ALETHEA Grant with the Friday 20th February 2026 edition of the HGP Nightly News. We will tell you this evening that a magistrate court ruling on Friday marked a significant development in a high-profile matter involving former senior police officer Paul Slowe and effectively clears him of a criminal charge. Travis Chase is on that story.
Retired Assistant Commissioner of Police Paul Slowe is today a free man after Senior Magistrate Fabeyo Azor ruled that the prosecution failed to prove its case against him beyond a reasonable doubt. In a decision handed down Friday morning at the Georgetown Magistrates Court, Magistrate Azor found Slowe not guilty of the charge of sexual assault, bringing an end to a case that has lingered in the courts for years. Delivering her ruling, the magistrate indicated that she could not rely on the prosecution's evidence, stating that the prosecution failed miserably to prove its case beyond a reasonable doubt, and as such, she could not find Mr. Slowe guilty. Slowe, in an invited comment, said that he has always been innocent.
The feelings of elation, justification at the end, because I was always knew, I know that I'm innocent. The allegations are false, trumped-up allegations. And finally, the court has ruled after almost 5 years that all the matters and dismissed all three of the sexual assault charges which were alleged to have occurred. These offenses were alleged to have occurred back in 2019.
The case stemmed from allegations made by a female police officer who claimed that on 3 occasions in March and April 2019, at police headquarters Ivleri, Slowe allegedly sexually assaulted her.
Well, I can't say justice has been served because there's so many things that happened in the period. I lost my job, my reputation, if you take the people and all this. But, I'm elated. I'm almost lost for words at this time.
Earlier in the proceedings, the magistrate had overruled a no-case submission by Slowe's attorneys, ruling that the prosecution had established a sufficient case for him to be called upon to lead a defense. However, after considering the full evidence, the court ultimately determined that the prosecution had not proven the allegation beyond reasonable doubt.
I take it that your next step would be to file a suit against the state.
Well, I'll be happy to be guided by my attorneys. I'll have a discussion with my attorneys and they will advise me on the way forward.
Slowe was represented by attorneys Dexter Todd and Don Cush. Shortly after the ruling, the police indicated that they intend to appeal the magistrate's decision. Travis Chase, HGP Nightly News.
Guyana's expanding energy sector will be guided by sustainability and environmental responsibility, Prime Minister Mark Phillips says, as he outlined major investments aimed at securing reliable, affordable power while protecting the country's natural heritage. Find out more from Tiana Cole.
Addressing the Guyana Energy Conference and Supply Chain Expo under the theme Building Tomorrow's Future Today, Prime Minister Phillips emphasized that Guyana's energy transition must carefully balance development needs with environmental stewardship.
We must therefore pursue a dual responsibility, and that is to grow our economy and to protect our environment. Our approach is therefore grounded in balance. Guyana is currently experiencing rapid economic transformation, supported in part by the development of our oil and gas sector.
The Prime Minister said this approach is anchored in the government's Low Carbon Development Strategy 2030, which prioritizes renewable energy expansion, modernization of power infrastructure, and climate resilience. Since August 2020, more than 186 megawatts of new generating capacity have been added to the national grid.
Through the Low Carbon Development Strategy 2030, the Government of Guyana is committed to creating an energy system that is diverse, resilient, and environmentally responsible. The cornerstones of our energy transition are the expansion of renewable energy, the modernization of our power infrastructure, and the building of resilience against climate change.
Looking ahead, Prime Minister Phillips disclosed that $119.4 billion has been allocated in the 2026 budget to advance Guyana's energy agenda. Central to this is the gas-to-energy project, which includes 2 natural gas-fired plants totaling 600 megawatts, with the first 300-megawatt facility expected to be commissioned by the end of this year. He also pointed to major investments in hydropower, solar, wind, and biomass, including 100 megawatts of new solar power, the 165-megawatt Amila Falls hydropower project, 10 additional solar mini-grids to benefit 6,200 households, and upgraded distribution networks for interland and riverine communities. On environmental stewardship, the Prime Minister highlighted Guyana's jurisdictional carbon credits under the R3's standard and the landmark $750 million forest carbon credit agreement, which channels at least 15% of revenues to Amerindian communities. He added that education and workforce development through the University of Guyana and the Gold Platform will prepare the next generation of engineers, technicians, and policy experts to lead a clean energy transition.
The private sector plays a critical role in driving innovation and scaling solutions. We welcome responsible investment that aligns with our national priorities and supports sustainable development. We believe in partnerships that are transparent, mutually beneficial, and grounded in long-term vision.
Tiana Ko reporting for the HGP Nightly News.
Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs Anil Nandlal says strong laws and legal certainty remain the backbone of Guyana's fast-growing energy sector as government moves to modernize regulations to keep pace with the industry's expansion. Here again is Tiana Ko.
Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs Anil Nandlal on Thursday told delegates at the Guyana Energy Conference and Supply Chain Expo that the rule of law is central to sustaining confidence and investment in Guyana's rapidly expanding energy sector. Speaking at the Guyana Marriott Hotel, Nandlal said the government is focused on building a strong, modern, and attractive regulatory framework to support long-term growth.
We have in draft a comprehensive, solid, and of course liquid waste management bill that will embrace the oil and gas sector. We have also an oil and gas corporation bill that will deal with the downstream activities of natural gas. When, as you know, we are building that capability. We have a gas to shore project that is being completed, hopefully by the end of this year.
The Attorney General noted that when the government assumed office in August 2020, Guyana's oil and gas sector lacked a modern legal framework and was governed largely by the outdated Petroleum Exploration and Production Act of 1986. He said that gap was addressed within the first year, with the passage of 2 key pieces of legislation, the Natural Resource Fund Act 2021 and the Local Content Act 2021.
The Act allows for adjustment over time as local capabilities are built. This sliding scale ensures that requirements can be strengthened progressively as Guyanese businesses expand, workers trained, and infrastructure improves.
Nandla stressed that Guyana's legislative reform agenda goes beyond oil and gas. With commercial activity surging, he said the Companies Act is now undergoing a comprehensive overhaul to modernize corporate governance and align it with the country's transformed economy.
In 2025 alone, 36,251 new businesses were registered in Guyana. 36,251 new businesses. When you divide that, I came up with an average of 3,021 new businesses registered per month, an average of 755 businesses registered per week.
The Attorney General said Guyana's rapid transformation, often compared internationally to the swift rise of Gulf economies, has been anchored in legally certainty and strong institutions.
None of it would have been possible without the rule of law and a strong regulatory framework grounded in law.
Tiana Cole reporting for the HGP Nightly News.
2 men have landed themselves in police custody as lawmen probe a $2 million justice fixing scheme. Travis Chase reports.
Ranks of the Criminal Investigations Department are preparing to file charges against 2 men after a brazen attempt to manipulate the justice system, which was uncovered following a targeted operation by the Customs Anti-Narcotics Unit on Wednesday, February 18. Nightly News understands that Kanu investigators, acting on intelligence of an alleged effort to pervert the course of justice, arrested Equenzi Victor Philemon Langhorne and Roger De Freitas in connection with a reported $2 million scheme. Langhorne, who was recently released from prison after serving a 3-year sentence for forgery and fraud, posed as a Kanu officer and solicited $2 million from De Freitas. The money was reportedly sought under the false claim that it could be used to influence the outcome of De Freitas' pending court matter through senior officials within the Customs Anti-Narcotics Unit. Sources indicate that this was not the case of deception alone. Investigators suggest De Freitas was fully aware that the proposed arrangement was unlawful and actively participated in the scheme. The operation effectively dismantled an attempt to undermine the integrity of the ongoing legal proceedings. Both men are now in police custody at the Criminal Investigations Department as investigators continue to probe the extent of the alleged conspiracy. Travis Chase, HGP Nightly News.
Stay tuned, we have more news for you. Welcome back with the HGP Nightly News. One Communications Guyana Inc. will invest $25 million in 2026 to expand fiber connectivity, strengthen mobile capacity, and enhance network resilience. Chief Executive Officer Abraham Smith made the announcement at the just concluded Guyana Energy Conference and Supply Chain Expo. Marvin Cato reports.
Addressing delegates at the Energy Expo and Conference under the theme Building Guyana's Future Today, One Communications Chief Executive Officer Abraham Smith positioned the telecommunications infrastructure as a critical enabler of the country's rapid economic expansion, particularly across the energy and industrial sectors. He reminded that real-time communication once supported operations. Today, it powers them. As Guyana grows, Smith reminded that the company's responsibility as an essential infrastructure provider is to invest ahead of demand and build systems that allow businesses and communities to scale with confidence.
Over the past 15 years, we've invested more than $250 million in network development, including $100 million in our fiber network alone in the past few years. In 2026, we will invest an additional $25 million into domestic fiber, into strengthening our mobile coverage, and building at the capacity required for a country moving at this pace.
He reminded that the additional investment in 2026 will focus on expanding fiber into emerging economic corridors, strengthening subsea and terrestrial capacity, and improving redundancy for mission-critical operations. Smith highlighted the Wales corridor, home to Guyana's gas-to-energy development, as an example of how digital infrastructure must move alongside national projects.
When energy flows inland, as we see in Wales with the gas-to-energy development, digital infrastructure must move with it, often ahead of it. So we are investing ahead of demand, much like the port went before the bridge.
The company has expanded fiber connectivity across surrounding communities. LTE coverage is active, with additional mobile sites planned this year to support increasing traffic and industrial demand. One Communications fiber network now serves more than 180,000 homes and businesses nationwide, with approximately 79% of the footprint located outside central Georgetown. He reminded that expansion priorities for 2026 include Linden, Perica, the East Coast Corridor, and Berbice. He also highlighted continued upgrades to the company's mobile wallet platform, MMG, expanding digital payments and financial services to support greater participation in the digital economy. Marvin Cato reporting for HGP Nightly News.
The Ministry of Education has embarked on decentralizing the University of Guyana's engineering programs to Regions 2 and 6, a strategic move designed to fuel the nation's unprecedented infrastructure boom. Marvin Cato has that story.
The Ministry of Education is proactively closing the skills gap to ensure Guyanese are the primary architects of the nation's future by launching civil and mechanical engineering at the Essequibo Technical Institute and the Johns Science Center in Berbice, respectively. During an orientation session for the inaugural Berbice cohort, Education Minister Sonia Parag emphasized that this expansion is rooted in government's commitment to inclusive growth, stating that the administration will continue to expand opportunities. Minister Parag highlighted that the ability for students to study within their respective region removes the heavy financial and geographical barriers that once made higher education a distant dream for many. Reflecting on the shift towards a tuition-free University of Guyana, the minister remarked, quote unquote, "Since the university became free, there have been thousands of loan write-offs worth millions of dollars, and we are going to maintain that in 2026. The decentralization of the engineering program allows students to remain with their families in their communities, avoiding the high costs of rent and food in Georgetown or its surrounding areas. Addressing the rigorous demands of the infrastructure sector, the minister challenged the students to embrace, quote unquote, a competency-based reform that prioritizes practical skills over mere test-taking. As the country builds world-class bridges, roads, and hospitals, she stressed that the workforce must be equally world-class and ready to think outside the box to solve modern challenges. It must be noted that engineering is not the only program being decentralized in this first phase of the effort. Minister Parag is also working actively with her colleague, Minister of Health Dr. Frank Anthony, and the UG team to also expand its medical programs to the various regions. These efforts are premised on ensuring inclusivity and equal access to key social services at all levels, especially education. Marvin Cato reporting for HGP Nightly News.
The Guyana Energy Conference and Supply Chain Expo, a pivotal event highlighting the nation's burgeoning energy sector, culminated on Friday with a dedicated youth forum. This segment connected young minds with industry leaders to inspire the next generation in energy and natural resources. Antonio Day was there and filed this report.
Welcome to Day 4 of the Guyana Energy Conference and Supply Chain Expo, where the country's future leaders engage policymakers on energy developments and policies critical to management of the sector.
Minister of Natural Resources Vikram Bharat took center stage during the Youth Forum, addressing an audience predominantly composed of students. His discourse focused on the critical choices young people face regarding their careers, especially in a rapidly evolving energy landscape.
If there is any young person here who don't have ambition, then something is wrong with you. As young people, you need to start thinking of this.
Minister Barrett emphasized the importance of aligning personal passions with emerging opportunities, within Guyana's expanding energy sector, which is poised to play a significant role in the country's economic development. Beyond career advice, the minister also shared key life lessons aimed at equipping students with the mindset and resilience needed to navigate future challenges, especially in business.
I say to young people, don't let money be the most motivating factor of getting into any career path. That is why I said it should be a career that you want, that in your heart you love.
Across Guyana, young minds from various schools have shown a key interest in the critical components and recent developments shaping the nation's burgeoning oil and gas industry.
For instance, like me, I'm a student from Linden and I have to travel. Well, I used to have to travel every day to come to GTI because the course that I'm doing, which is in civil engineering, is not at the Linden Technical Institute. So to summarize what I just said, the time frame for the cost bank being paid back and also any plans that would ensure that development not only happens in concentrated areas but also nationwide.
Based on the time frame now and the investment taken so far, we are just, I would say, before the end of this decade. Already, I'm not sure if you saw it, but we are going to take a second pipeline to Region 6. So it means that will bring development as a gas line. We're taking gas to Bordeaux. That will mean you will create opportunities in Region 5 or Region 6. Region 3 and 4 is basically, I would say, saturated with the amount of development, especially port development, and jobs are here.
Also present at the expo was the specialist in sustained youth development, SIDAR, Ms. Magda Griffith-France, Executive Director of SIDAR, briefly related the objectives of the organization.
Part of our training is getting them ready for work, getting them ready for life, and so we've used specifically a work-ready curriculum, which is 7 modules looking at things like interpersonal communication, work habits and conduct, financial fitness, understanding leadership and teamwork, along with understanding the rights of employers as well as employees.
That has brought us to the end of Day 4 of the Ghana Energy Conference and Supply Chain Expo. I'm Antonio Day reporting for the HGP Nightly News from the Marriott Hotel, Kingston, Georgetown.
Stay tuned. Join us after the break for more news. Welcome back. You're still with the HGP Nightly News. Thanks for staying with us. The high-profile election fraud trial entered its 53rd day on Friday with the voir dire for former GCOM staffer Stephen February and new testimony heard in the Georgetown Magistrates Court. Tiana Cole has that story.
Day 53 of the election fraud trial resumed on Friday before Acting Chief Magistrate Faith Magusti at the Georgetown Magistrates Court, with the voir dire for former GCOM staffer Stephen February underway. 3 police officers took the stand to give testimony: Lance Corporal Sharon Benjamin, Inspector Jermaine Austin, and Inspector Jermaine Laundrie, all attached to the Criminal Investigation Department, CID. Following their testimonies, the officers were cross-examined by defense attorney U.C. Anderson. The trial is scheduled to continue on September 24. Several individuals remained before the court in connection with the March 2020 general and regional elections. Among those charged are former Region 4 returning officer Clement Mingo, former Chief Elections Officer Keith Lowenfield, and former Deputy Chief Election Officer Roxanne Myers. Also facing charges are former PNCR chairperson Valda Lawrence, PNCR activist Carol Smith Joseph, and GCOM staff members Stephen February, Enrique Lyfan, Mitchell Miller, and Dennis Bob Cummins. The charges follow investigations into alleged attempts to manipulate the March 2020 election results. In total, the defendants face 19 conspiracy charges related to alleged electoral fraud. The prosecution has stated it intends to call approximately 73 witnesses as the trial progresses. Tiana Cole reporting for the HGP Nightly News.
In honor of Black History Month, Nightly News will feature Dr. Ernestine Adams of the University of Guyana for her research on women's imprisonment in early British Guyana. Antonio sat down for a candid conversation with Dr. Adams about her timely production, slavery, indentureship, and women's labor in early British Guyana's jails.
The stories of incarcerated women in colonial Guyana, previously fragmented, are now central in Dr. Estherine Adams' book, Slavery, Indentureship, and Women's Labor, Early British Guyana Jails. Dr. Estherine Adams' new publication details a comprehensive account of African and Indian women's imprisonment and labor under colonial systems and revealing prisons as key labor engines in the colonial economy. In an interview with Nightly News, the University of Guyana academic stated that her book research fully developed the historical arc of women's imprisonment within colonial labor, gender, and punishment debates.
We talk about slavery, we talk about indentureship, we talk about immigration, but we don't look at that aspect of the lives of these people, all right? And even when we do think about incarceration, we automatically think about men. For obvious reasons, because in most systems, in most jail systems or prison systems, men far outnumber women. And so we don't think about these few women that are among these many men that are in this system.
This publication builds on Dr. Adams' award-winning article, At Work in Hospital or in Gaol, Women in British Guyana's Jails, from 1838 to 1917, which revealed the ASLH Edna Ryan Prize for its originality and depth. The head of the Department of History and Caribbean Studies at UG in her publication builds a nuanced narrative through microhistories of women often overlooked in official records.
For persons of African descent, this is important. This is important history because one of the things, my most maybe shocking discovery in doing this research is about the seawall.
The idea that the Dutch made the seawall in Guyana is an old story, but historians say it is not completely true or backed up by facts, Dr. Adams related. The history of the construction of the Georgetown seawall reveals cultural and technological contributions, and the vital role African laborers is crucial for a comprehensive understanding, the historian elaborated.
The seawall, as we know it now, this granite wall that is there, that was built by incarcerated people. So what they did, those men and women, especially those that were incarcerated in the Georgetown jail, that is the labor that was used to construct that seawall as it is.
Dr. Adams is currently working alongside international accredited universities on a project, helping those of African descent, both local and further afield, to trace their ancestral backgrounds. The project is titled Voices in Slavery Archives.
For people of African descent in Guyana, it's very, very difficult to trace your ancestry. For all the usual reasons, because the records weren't kept and all of that, and change of names and identity and all of that in the Guyana context. And so what the Voices Project seeks to do is to create a database of what is there.
I am Antonio Day reporting for the HGP Nightly News and wishing everyone Black History Month.
Stay tuned for regional news.
Interested in honoring or paying tribute to a loved one, or just making a loved one feel special? HGP TV offers you all that and more. Air your birthday greetings, death announcements, and wedding anniversaries on HGP TV today. HGP TV offers affordable prices, convenience, and great services. Call us on 220-3660 or email us at sales@hgptv.com.
Good evening and welcome to Friday's edition of the Regional News. I'm Antonio Day. Here's what you need to know as we turn attention to news in Barbados. Friends of Democracy political leader Karina Goodrich has arrived at the State House where she's to be sworn in as opposition senator. Goodrich was accompanied by her husband and parents, along with FOD General Secretary Steve Blackett, as she prepares to take the oath of office. Meanwhile, Ryan Walters of the Democratic Labour Party is set to be sworn in on Friday morning as one of the 2 opposition senators at State House. Walters, who contested St. Michael Northwest in the recent general election, was accompanied by his wife and son as he prepared to take the oath of office. Still with news in Barbados. Amid calls for campaign finance reform following last week's general election, 2 pundits warned that significant legal, cultural, and practical hurdles could hinder any effort to tighten the rules on political spending. In an interview with Barbados Today, senior law lecturer at the University of the West Indies, Cave Hill campus, Dr. Ronnie Yearwood, said that Barbados does not currently have a comprehensive framework governing campaign financing. Quoting, "In terms of a kind of comprehensive suite of laws for campaign financing, we do not have that," he explained. "The only real law that regulates campaign financing is actually in the Representation of the People Act. If you go to Section 48 in there's a limit on the election expenses, but in reality, that is $10 per voter. In a constituency of 10,000 voters, that would translate to a spending cap of $100,000 per candidate. But he questioned whether that figure reflects the true cost of modern campaigning." And finally, with international news. A search at Andrew Mountbatten, Windsor's former Berkshire home by the United Kingdom police remains on the way following the former prince's arrest on Thursday. Even though Thames Valley Police have concluded searches at Mountbatten Windsor's home on Sandringham Estate, where he was arrested, the search continues at the Royal Lodge on the Windsor Estate. Mountbatten Windsor was arrested for alleged misconduct but denies any wrongdoing related to Jeffrey Epstein. The King and Buckingham Palace were reportedly unaware of the arrest beforehand. However, the Home Secretary was alerted about the arrest shortly before Andrew was taken into custody, it is understood. Thames Valley Police deny briefing the Home Office before the arrest, but issue a statement from the National Police Chief's Council to clarify what was done. That has brought us to the end of Friday's edition of the Regional News. I'm Antonio Day. Do have a safe weekend and happy Mashramani to every Guyanese.
Let's now join Delwyn Neblet for HGP's Sports Pulse.
Good evening, Guyana. I'm Delwyn Neblet with your HGP TV Sports Pulse for today, Friday, February 20, 2026. We begin tonight with cycling. Nigel London has been officially elected as the president of the Guyana Cycling Federation following the resignation of former President Horace Burrows at a special meeting aimed at filling executive vacancies. Mark Sinclair was elected as General Secretary while William Howard will serve as Treasurer. 3 Vice Presidents, Carlos Mendonca, Lyndon Dowridge, and Hector Edwards were also elected. Walter Grant Stewart has been elected as the Racing Secretary, while Maria Leung will serve as the Assistant Treasurer. Melanie Collins will serve as the Assistant Secretary. Moving into table tennis, action took place in the 2026 annual Mashramani Table Tennis Tournament hosted by the National Sports Commission and the Guyana Table Tennis Association at the National Gymnasium in Georgetown on Sunday. Shanacy Matthews emerged as champion in the novice girls category after defeating Tiandra Hunt 2-1 in the final. Somalia Peters and Shanae Singh finished jointly in 3rd place. In the novice boys category, Stephen David Long claimed victory, winning 2-1 over Damian Motilal, as Levon Williams and Adam Southland finished in 3rd. In the girls 9 and under category, Fabiana John secured victory, winning 2-0 over Tiana Hunt, while Shamalia Peters and Shanacy Matthews finished in 3rd. In the boys 9 and under category, Adam Rodriguez secured victory over Jermaine Peroon in 2nd and Miles Monroe in 3rd. Akeem Hall captured the C-Class Open title after defeating Navi Clarkston 3-1 in the final. Caden Musa and Stefan Sankar finished in 3rd. Tournament action continues tonight as matches are currently underway at the National Gymnasium in Georgetown. Into golf, action continues in the 2026 National Top Flight Golf League with the 4th of 8 rounds on Sunday. Commencing at 8 hours at the Lusignan Golf Course on the east coast of Demerara, the tournament is expected to intensify heading into the second half of the league. After 3 rounds of play, Patanjali Prasad maintains the overall lead with 13 points. Brian Hackett currently occupies second place on 12 points as Chad Bowlin sits in third place on 10 points. Moving into football, action took place in the Georgetown Football Association Senior Men's League with 2 fixtures at the Pleasance Community Center ground on Tuesday. Match number 1 was a narrow 2-1 victory for the Northern Rangers FC over Eastveld FC on the back of goals from Nigel Carter and Marco Trotman. Eastveld's Kwesi Tumblers scored once in a losing effort. In match number 2, Camptown FC secured a thumping 6-1 victory over Pile FC as Anton Williams, Marlon Bethel, Shane Jones and Dion Alfred each netted goals in a winning effort. Finally, in football, action resumes in the Ghana Football Federation's 2026 Elite League Cup with 2 fixtures at the National Training Center in Providence. Match number 1 featured Ansgrove United FC versus Menedalus FC, while match number 2, commencing at 21 hours, will feature the Western Tigers FC versus the Fruta Conquerors FC. That's it for this edition of the HGP TV Sports Pulse. I'm Delwyn Neblett reminding you to stay in the game.
Paul Slowe freed after court dismisses a sexual assault charge. Prosecution failed to prove its case. Energy expansion must balance growth and environmental protection, Prime Minister Phillips. Alleged $2 million justice fixing scheme uncovered. Connectivity no longer a privilege. One Communications Guyana to invest $25 million to improve service delivery. And in sport, Nigel London, newly elected president of the Guyana Cycling Federation. Those are our major headlines. For these stories and more, please go to our website. It's www.hgptv.com. I'm Aletha Grant. Thanks for watching.